All right. All right, thank you. So I'm excited to give this presentation, and I don't think it's ironic by any means that I feel stressed about giving this presentation. So it's very suiting. Stress is something that we all experience. It is a very universal feeling that happens on a daily basis for most people, right? So an important thing to know about stress, though, is that stress isn't necessarily a bad thing to experience. In a lot of ways, it's very positive and it's very motivating. So if you look at this graph here, if you look over on the low end, so whenever you are not feeling stressed at all, your performance is going to be very low. So for example, if I wasn't feeling stressed out about this presentation, I wouldn't have really prepared. I would have thrown these slides together, I would have got up here, and I just would have winged it, and who knows what would have happened, right? I am stressed about it, so I did prepare, right? However, I am not so far stressed that I'm unable to think clearly and perform and articulate the things that I want to say. So what you really want is somewhere in the middle. You want to have this optimal level of stress that allows you to perform and do the things that you need to do. Ooh. Okay, so what is stress? Stress is your body's response to any type of change, whether this change be a good change or a bad change. So a good change could be something positive, like maybe you're starting college, you just got promoted at your job, or a bad change. So you could suffer an injury, you could lose your job. Various things can cause stress to your body. Even imagined change can be stressful. So just anticipating a future change that is going to happen in your life. Stress is experienced physically, emotionally, and behaviorally. So physically, you might notice that your heart rate is increasing, you might have difficulties breathing, you might feel nauseous, like you have a knot in your stomach, right? Emotionally, you might feel pretty fatigued. Stress takes up a lot of mental and physical resources, so it leaves you feeling pretty depleted and unable to have the energy that you need to go about your day. And also behaviorally, so you might have difficulty sleeping, falling asleep, you might be more irritable, so you might be more short with your friends and your family. Some people turn to substances, so using alcohol to help manage their stress. Right? So stress can be manifested in various different ways. Okay, so some causes of stress. I think the external ones are easy to identify. So external ones are events, anything that really happens to us in our life. These are things that, for the most part, are pretty much out of our control. So for example, for work, you might be stressed because you work long hours. You might be able to have some control over your work hours, but for the most part, you're expected to be there and you're expected to do your job, right? The one thing, or the part that I want to focus on though today more, is the internal pieces that influence how we experience and manage our own stress. So the things that go on inside of us, our thoughts, our feelings, and then ultimately our behaviors and the way in which we approach stress. So the first one is fear and uncertainty. So the core to stress, or what underlies, stress and anxiety, is this desire to be in control. So when we don't feel like we have control, we start to worry. And having those worrying thoughts, those racing thoughts, what if, or how can I do this, how can I do that? That is our way to try to regain control over uncertainty or over the unknown. So I think finances is a big one. I think everyone can relate to that, where you worry about money. How am I going to pay my bills? Okay. Attitude and perception. So how you view the world and how you view the situation can really impact how you experience that stressor. So for example, say your car gets broken into, and you live in a very safe neighborhood and this happens. Do you view the event as like an isolated incident that happened randomly, or do you now all of a sudden feel very unsafe in the community that you live in? Right? So if you view it as an isolated event, you're less likely to go out into your neighborhood and feel fearful or feel stressed out. But if you view it as something that, this place is no longer safe, it's going to impact you on a day-to-day basis and how secure you feel in your home. One thing I like to encourage people to do for those two things is come up with some type of meaning or some type of purpose in life. So this is more of like an existential idea, but it's like, how do you make sense of the world? For some people, that is a belief in a higher power. For some people, it's a belief that everything just works out exactly how it's supposed to work out. Maybe things are just random. But find meaning. Find some way to make sense of the things that happen to us in life. The next one is unrealistic expectations. Perfectionism is very dangerous. We live in a very imperfect world. So if you expect to be perfect, you are going to be very disappointed, and you're going to be continuously stressed out. So lower those expectations. And then personality, just as a side note, there's a lot that goes into that, genetics, temperament, things like that, but just take note that personality also impacts that. So how do you manage stress? These ones I think are more out there. Exercise, it's a very good natural stress relief. Self-care. You should be engaging in self-care every single day. It doesn't have to be anything big, like you don't have to go on a long vacation or even call off the whole day at work. Do little things for yourself. My self-care is having coffee every morning because that just makes the morning feel better for whatever reason. Living a healthy lifestyle. This is everything from diet to setting boundaries for yourself in regards to like the people you surround yourself with. Learning how to say no. If you're feeling overwhelmed, don't take on that extra task. Or even if you don't feel like doing something and you'd rather go home and watch a movie, learn to say no. So these next two then, put them up here, are the more internal pieces. So these are the things that you tell yourself about those stressful situations. My best advice to you is learn how to let go of things that you cannot change. So we have very little control over anything in this life, especially other people's behavior. So learning how to let go of those things that you cannot control and instead focus on the few things that you do have control over, like what it is you put into your body, right? The food you eat, the exercise you engage in. Look for the upside. I really like to encourage people to look at a challenge as an opportunity for growth. Try to find the most positive piece of that experience and use it to self-actualize yourself, become the best version of yourself, right? Learn to practice forgiveness and learn to practice acceptance. I think forgiveness and acceptance is a very selfish act in that it's really it's for yourself, right? That's redundant. But I like to live by the principle that people are doing the best that they can with the skills that they have. So if people make mistakes, if someone hurts you, does something to you, rather than holding on to anger and resentment, try to view it as that person is doing the best that they can, given the situation and given the skills that they have. And then finally, adapting to the stressor. Try to reframe the problem. Try to look for the positive in the situation. I know that can be very hard sometimes, right? But also look at the big picture. Will this matter in the long run? Is this something that is worth the time and energy that it is going to take to worry about it or to stress over it? If the answer is no, try to move on from it. Try to let it go. And then the last one here is the big one. Adjust your standards. Like I said, perfectionism will not get you anywhere. Learn to set lower expectations for yourself and learn to be okay with just good enough. Right? All right. That's everything I have for you.